All right. Okay. So 8:34. I think we can get started. Just so that I don't like wasting people's time. So Robert has about 30 to 45 minutes of presentation, and then we'll take questions. Anybody that has questions or is in need of help at all, we are going to help them out. And I see a lot of people logging in. So what I can do is, it was interesting when I started looking at Nairobi Securities Exchange. And maybe most of you left when it was called Nairobi Stock Exchange. At one point, they demutualized in 2014, and that name changed, partly because they added derivatives into their listings, and they didn't just want to be called a stock exchange. They also added a few securities. That was very interesting. Now, the one thing that I noted is that the market cap, and Robert, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I was looking up, there's a lot of numbers thrown around that the market cap for Nairobi Securities Exchange is 26 billion. It's not even million. That should be billion. 26 billion. So 26 billion is quite a bit. But if you compare it to some of the companies that we have here in the US, for instance, so Raf, if you buy Etsy, it's equivalent to 26 billion. So essentially, you are buying the whole market if you own shares of Etsy. That was very interesting. I don't know whether that's the accurate number. Maybe it's not. But
yes, it is.
It is?
It's about that in terms of 2.3 to 2.7 trillion Kenya shillings.
Okay.
So you can convert that by...
Yes. So it becomes, so it comes about 26 billion. Yes.
Yeah.
And so you notice that 26 billion is really, it sounds a lot of money, but if you compare it with other companies here in the US, then it's just peanuts. If you compare that with Apple, oh my goodness. So Nairobi Securities Exchange but that doesn't mean there are no opportunities. And that's the whole reason why we brought Robert. So I see there's a lot of people we can get going. Let me introduce formally. Robert is with Abojani Investments, an online community in Nairobi, a very vibrant community. I love it. A lot of people that have interest in the stock market and understanding how money works are part of his community. He has grown this community over the years. And what is most fascinating is that all they do is reach out to members using the phone, WhatsApp, basically mobile phone. And you can learn a whole lot about money just by using your phone. You really don't need to be fancy. So Abojani Investment, if you want to read a little bit about their story, they have a wonderful website here. And he does mention what he does and his goal. And I love his goal because he talks about educating more than 1 million over here, 1 million Kenyans to have financial awareness. That's a wonderful goal, given that a lot of Kenyans don't know anything about money. And a part of that community, when we track, there was a posting recently about how much debt Kenyans are collecting by something called Fuliza. Now, if you don't know what Fuliza is, just ask one of your relatives or anybody there. They'll tell you what Fuliza is. And the first time I heard about it, I thought it was such a horrible idea to be able to collect a loan using your phone. And now you accrue a lot of interest. And that might become a problem, but Robert will talk about this. Let me finish up with Abojani. So that's one of his goals, wonderful goal. And there's some statistics here. Robert will tell us whether you have updated these or not. More than 5K students, 10 plus courses, 5 plus instructors, and a lot of countries that he's reached out. So Robert is very resourceful. And I can tell you that having met him and establishing a partnership with him is going to be very helpful to our communities. And anybody wanting to invest in this field, particularly in Nairobi, you are in the right place. Robert is going to guide you. He's going to be presenting to our members once a month. So if you are a member, you are in for a wonderful treat, because every month he'll be coming online and just going over some of the numbers. If you don't know the book value for KCB, he'll tell you. If you don't know how the last time they issued a dividend, he'll tell you. So it's a wonderful thing to have Robert. So I'm very happy, Robert, that we found each other, and I'm really looking forward to working with you. So having said that, I don't want to waste any more time. What we will do is have Robert present. The chat box is open. If there's a question you have while he's presenting, go ahead and just put it down on the chat. I'm going to keep track of those questions. Robert is actually willing to answer some of those questions while he's presenting. And towards the end, he'll take all the questions. So if there's a burning question that you just want him to answer, go ahead and write it in the chat, and I'll interrupt him, have him answer the question. But towards the end, we have a lot of time where he can accommodate you and just respond to you. And hopefully we satisfy your desire to find opportunities in Nairobi Securities Exchange. I don't see Timothy here. One of my team trainers, facilitators, I don't know whether he's ready. Tim, you're here?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. All right. So I do have facilitators at PeteandPete Investors. I'm going to make a brief introduction to them. I have Tim. Tim, you want to say hello?
Hello, everybody. My name is Tim, as you've heard. Oops, I don't know, it's a little bit dark.
Okay, yes.
Yes. One of the instructor and facilitators with PeteandPete Investors. And I want to welcome you all. I help a lot with the training, with researching and updating our Discord and our website.
Awesome. Thank you, Tim. All right. Then I have PJ Options. You're here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Go ahead and say hello.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this forum. And I'm with PeteandPete. I am normally in the division of derivatives. So if Nairobi Securities Exchange and Nairobi people start doing derivatives, if we learn derivatives, we'll be the first ones to jump there instead of the Wall Street people, you know? Mm-hmm. So I teach derivatives, and whoever would like to know derivatives, just join us, and we shall go from there. Mr. Ochi for joining us, and we are looking forward to working with him, with PeteandPete.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, PJ. And then I'm also lastly going to introduce Teacher M. Teacher M is wonderful in our community. She's very resourceful. She has a special corner at our Discord channel. She updates that channel every Sunday. And Teacher M, if you like to say hello.
Karibuni, and I love our community. I sit there laughing because they know of the noises of the noisemakers.
Yep.
Yes, and I'm Mugore for M.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. Now that we have the introductions out of our way, I think we are ready to go. Robert, I'm going to stop sharing here. That way you have access to sharing your screen. If you have a presentation, I think you're ready. Robert, if you can go ahead and see if you can share your screen. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, so it's good evening on your side, right?
Yes, it's actually night, almost 9 p.m.
Yeah, and here it is 3:44 a.m.
Oh,
actually, so quite early.
Oh my goodness! Thank you for doing this.
5
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, quite interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So my name is Robert, and usually the most exciting thing for me is to find like-minded people. Believe you me, it is not very easy.
Mm-hmm.
So when you find that opportunity, you treasure it and you enjoy it. Because once you're away from such people, you'll realize how valuable they are. So thank you very much. I'm Robert Ochieng, the CEO and co-founder of Abojani Investments. So Abojani Investments have quite a rich history in that we started a Facebook group here in Kenya back in the year 2014. And our first ever session that we had, a physical session, we actually met at Uhuru Park. So that's when we met as local investors, just talking about the stock market. So you've seen the growth of communities such as Pete and Pete, and they are growing because there's a very big gap in the financial market. Whereby you say it is yo-yo, so you're kind of on your own as investors. So these big institutions, they're just there making money for themselves and their clients. So retail investors, they're on their own. So that's how it started in Kenya. Then we used to have physical sessions at Norwich Union. So Norwich Union, again, if you can go back and look at history, it was actually developed by a chama here in Kenya. So that also tells you about how great investments can be. So we used to meet there physically. Then over time, we now decided to commercialize it by forming a company that would now help investors with education. So we've just been reaching out. The community has grown to over 83,000 people on Facebook. And if you know our story as Kenya, we are very big on the mobile phone. Currently, over 60 million Kenyans. Actually, people have more than one mobile phone. So we have over 60 million subscriptions. So personally, I have a telecom line, I have a Safaricom line, and there's Equitel from Equity Bank. So I have 3 mobile phone numbers. So that's very common here in Kenya, and we like being on WhatsApp. Given our internet penetration here, most people might not afford to do Zoom sessions, maybe once in a while, so they find it easy on WhatsApp. So actually, because of that, Facebook Global reached out to us and asked us, how comes you're able to train people on WhatsApp? How did you come up with that idea? But they always know that Kenya is very unique, and Mark Zuckerberg actually came to Kenya to just learn about M-Pesa. Yeah, so we've really grown from just being able to work on the mobile phone, but our aim usually is to educate as many Kenyans as possible, and not just about theory, but how to invest, whether it is about the emergency fund and in the stock market. So that's how we came to meet people like Kavi and Raf, quite exciting people in our community. So I usually like when people talk about investments, because there are a lot of debates online about politics and so many things. So when I find the few who can talk about investment, usually I feel at home. So first of all, thank you very much, Pete, for your community and this opportunity. We are talking about capital markets, which is what we are trying to push as many people as possible here in Kenya to also start thinking about, because people have formed this opinion that they should be funded by people from the West. So if you have a startup, and let's say someone is Robert Ochieng's son, once they are all 18 and they want to fund their company, they start complaining how they're not being funded by the West, instead of asking their dad, who is Robert, to fund their startup. So I think it's really important for us to learn how to grow our capital and fund our own projects and startups. It's very responsible for us as Kenyans to always run away from our own responsibilities. So I think that's something that I want to challenge all of us, that in all that we do, a few years from now, let's fund our children and our children's children with the savings that we'll have made from this investment. For me, that will be the greatest joy, because it means that the size of the cake here in Kenya will be getting bigger. The Nairobi Securities Exchange will have a bigger market capitalization because it has stagnated for quite a while. And we have so many big companies that are dying even before listing. We have companies like Nakumatt, which were supposed to be listed, but there are no more actually. So they didn't even make it to listing. And that was a very big brand. So corporate governance and things like that. So today we are going to look at the Kenyan financial markets, the capital markets. And just to give you a few pointers from a microeconomic point of view, currently our inflation rate stands at 5.9%. So I know that might be quite high in your world back there in the US. And also when you look at the government risk-free rate for treasury bills and bonds. Treasury bonds currently, it is at 9.2%. So again, that's quite high globally. And we have other Africans from Morocco, Uganda, they're all coming to camp here because of this GC returns from government securities. So for the treasury bonds, we are coming back from a recent issue from the government where we had an infrastructure bond that has a coupon rate of 12.67%. And it was massively oversubscribed. So the government wanted about 60 billion, and Kenyan companies and foreign companies and individuals were able to invest 82 billion Kenyan shillings. So it was oversubscribed by 22 billion Kenyan shillings because it's very hard to get returns of 12.6%, looking at that being tax-free. So you just get your money and there's no tax that the government will ask of you from that investment. So those are the key pointers. And these key pointers, unfortunately, you know very well if the government securities returns are very high, then it means that the stock market won't be that vibrant because you can just sit down, lazy around and get a cool 12.6%. So for that reason, it has been a disadvantage to our stock market because when people look at the frameworks for analyzing stocks, you can see how active people usually are on your Discord channel. It's because there are so many moving parts when it comes to investing in the stock market. So because of that, the Kenyan stock market currently, foreign investors, they control about 65 to 75% of trades at the NSE. So as Kenyans, we are consumers, so we consume products from Safaricom, which in their last financial year, they made revenues of 262 billion. But from investment, we are less than 3% of the shareholders. So we give out the money in terms of consumption, spend 262 billion in an annual year from an annual point of view. But as investors, we are a very small part of that. So we are challenging locals, whether they are non-residents and residents, they should start investing because our market, since it is not quite vibrant, it means that we also have very few good companies. And today, I'm going to share with you, you'll find that you have only about 15 companies that are worth looking at when you look at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. And these 15 companies, they've done very well. When you talk about Safaricom, we can go back to the year 2008 when they listed. They listed at 5 Kenyan shillings per share, and now it is trading at 36 Kenyan shillings per share. And the dividends that they've given over that period stand at around 9.2 Kenyan shillings. So if you add that, it is coming to around 45 Kenyan shillings from just an investment of 5 shillings. So that's about 9 times returns from 2008. So this one, it is being enjoyed mostly by the government, which has a big stake, and then Vodafone and foreigners. So you have companies like Morgan Stanley, investment firms like Morgan Stanley, who are investing for their investors here in Kenya, looking at emerging markets, and they're investing in companies like Safaricom, KCB, Equity. Actually, Equity now, the majority owners are foreigners again. And these are very young brand. Just listed in the year 2006 with asset base of only 20 billion. And as we speak today, the asset base of Equity is actually $1 trillion and $15 billion. $1 trillion from the year 2006. Yes, so another thing that I can tell us, a challenge that we are having is that we are not telling our stories well enough. We are talking about the Amazons, but I can tell you for free, you won't find such a beautiful story anywhere. Yeah, so when you talk about a brand like Equity, I've been working in the financial markets for the past 10 years, and over 9 years, I worked in banks from Equity Bank. There's a bank known as Gulf African Bank and also Guarantee Trust Bank. And when I was at Equity, people were actually coming from Harvard, from India, from the US to study that Equity Bank model. And because of that, they started investing in it. So you can see that again is a challenge to us as locals. Why are we not seeing these opportunities while others are seeing the opportunities? And when you look at investments, there's an investment company in the US that is related to George Soros. He has a stake in it. It is known as Helios. So this company invested just 11 billion Kenya shillings in Equity Bank in the year 2007. And when they were divesting in the year 2015, if you look at the total returns that they got from Equity Bank, they got 59 billion Kenya shillings, 59 billion from just 11 billion between the year 2007 to 2015, 8 years from 11 billion to 59. So these opportunities are there. So I don't know how the stories are not reaching people who are out there as Kenyans and even us locals here. They're just big stories on Bloomberg. The bank is being rewarded outside Kenya. But when you are here in Kenya, maybe people are thinking about getting government tenders. So the private sector part and the successes that we are having, they're not being told in a way that locals can actually be attracted to these opportunities. So these are the opportunities that we have in our market in terms of the financial markets. So when you look at the Kenyan financial markets, of course, we know that the body that has the oversight on our financial market is the Treasury, which is the Ministry of Finance. Then you have various bodies. So central bank is very key. After the Treasury sets the fiscal policy, which basically looks at how we budget, how we allocate resources at national level. Then when we look at our budget, the current status is that we have a budget deficit. Usually it is about 5 to 6%. So of the national budget, whereby we are not able to fund our budget. So because of that, you have to borrow money from the local market and also from foreign markets. So if you hear about Eurobonds, we are basically covering budget deficits. And also the Eurobond has been quite attractive for foreign investors in Europe. So currently the central bank, it is in charge of the monetary policy. So they set the benchmark rate for lending. So lending rate currently, the average rate in Kenya is at 13%. So I believe, again, that's quite high if you have to look at it from where you sit in the US. Yeah, so central bank does that, and it regulates all the commercial banks that you have in Kenya, which currently are about 38. We have 38 commercial banks. So from the banks, you can have savings accounts, current accounts, which is very key for you. If you're in diaspora, usually we encourage you to ensure that you have an account here locally. It makes it very easy for you to transact if you want to invest locally. So don't forget about your account back in Kenya. And then also under Central Bank of Kenya, we have like a mortgage finance company. So currently we have only one company, which is HF Group. Maybe when we left, it used to be called HFCK, but now it is called HF Group. If you want any mortgage, it is the best organization for that. Then also KCB has a very big mortgage division, so also quite attractive there. And I want to inform you that in the last few years, the government has come up with a savings account for investing in real estate. So we still have people investing in off-plan real estate property. So actually, you are not supposed to do that. What you're supposed to do, that developer is supposed to work with KCB, HF Group, so that you deposit money in KCB or HF Group's account, and they should only take that money once the developments have been completed, because we've had so many issues of off-plan developments. So personally, I invested in one and lost 400,000 Kenyan shillings. So you don't have to repeat that mistake. Just know that those issues are very common here, and you just tell you Pole, and life continues. So I don't know how Pole will help you to get the knowledge, and just ask KCB and HF Group Then also talk to your developer and tell them now government has created a special account and it was actually passed in parliament to protect you and me. And I'm now here giving you information. So I hope that will help you. Off plan, let no one gamble with your money. Let them source for funds. Once the developments are complete, then the money can be taken from KCB or HF account and you'll get the house once it has been completed, not stories. Yeah, so that's something very key that you need to look at. Then you have microfinance institutions, companies like Kenya Women Trust, Faulu. Those are microfinance institutions. So currently, they're not in a very strong position financially. So you'll find a few of them giving you very high interest rates in terms of your fixed deposit. Again, be very careful there because we had a situation whereby people are all going to Rafiki Microfinance Bank to get these very high fixed deposit rates. Then something happened. They started asking, will we get back our money? Things like that. So again, if you find that returns from fixed deposits are very high and that's the reason you are being attracted to that bank, ask yourself how foolish KCB, Standard, ABSA, formerly known as Barclays, are that they're not giving you this high rate. So always ask yourself for that. So you need to compare rates across different banks. And when you see the top 10 banks not giving high rates, but the lower tier banks giving high rates, always know that there's a price for getting high returns from fixed deposit accounts. So that's also something key to note about banks. Then you have SACCOs. So I won't dwell much on SACCOs because you have your own diaspora SACCOs. And in SACCOs, you really need to do a lot of due diligence. It's better to work with your friends in diaspora, established SACCOs like US Diaspora SACCO, Kenad, and others. Because again, in SACCO, we've had a lot of issues. You know, the way they run here locally, they're not very strong in terms of governance. So again, check out on that. There's some SACCOs that can give you very high dividends. And actually the dividends, they're not returned from the SACCOs. They're just issuing more shares so that when I'm given a share as a dividend, to realize value, I have to sell to maybe RAF or PETE. So you know that is not how dividends are supposed to be given. Mm-hmm. So again, ask questions in regards to that. Then in financial markets, to manage risk, we do have insurance companies. So some of the most established companies are Jubilee Insurance, Britam. We have CIC and Sanlam. So Sanlam, it used to be called Pan-African Insurance. So it rebranded. Now it is called Sanlam, just going by the name from their mother company in South Africa. Then of importance also are the credit reference bureaus, very important. As long as you have a Kenyan ID, please ensure that once in a while you check your credit score on the credit reference bureaus. So Pete talked about a mobile loan known as Fuliza. So because of mobile loans, we have issues of identity theft, where someone can take your ID, register a mobile phone with it, then go and take loans. So you have had cases whereby PeteandPete, the CEO of Resolution Insurance, someone stole his identity and took a mobile loan worth just 1,000 Kenya shillings. And he was listed on CRB. So the day when Resolution Insurance was going to get some $1 million loan, he was told that your company can't get it because you are negatively listed on CRB. So always check, is an annual health check that you need to do, whether you are a resident or an unresident. Very key for you. And also once in a while, you can be contacting Safaricom, Airtel, ask them if there's any mobile number that is registered on your ID. Very, very important because identity theft is a reality these days. Then in terms of investments, on an overall view, we have capital markets and money markets. So capital markets, we are looking at investments that go for a long period of time. So that's over 1 year. So things like the stock market, they fall under capital markets. Treasury bonds, we have the ability to trade bonds in the secondary market. Then money market is for the short term. That's 1 year and below. So all bank accounts, they fall under money markets. And we also have mutual funds here in Kenya also giving quite good returns of around 9 to 10% on an annual basis. And also quite flexible. If you have some income that you'd want to use for short-term projects, instead of letting that money sit in a current account, it can actually sit in a money market account and you'll get interest on a monthly basis. Then we have only 2 ETFs in our market. So one of them is the gold ETF from ABSA, formerly known as Barclays. And we also have an ETF for the NSE 25 share index. So we have only 2 ETFs. So the one for the gold is quite straightforward, but the one for the 25 share index, it is a derivative. So currently the derivative market is not quite vibrant. So I will be very lucky to get even one lot. So it's just a name there, but the NSE is doing a lot to actually make it very liquid so that as many people as possible can start investing in them. So that's the overview of our financial markets. So other emerging things, we have things like mobile loans, which have been quite attractive. And the investors who are investing in mobile loans, big companies that have done mobile loans outside the banking sector. We have a company like Branch and Tala, and the big investors are actually coming from the US. Again, venture capitalists coming to make very high returns here in Kenya because the mobile loans, the rates are at as high as 10% on a monthly basis. So you can see how people are seeing opportunities in our markets, whether it is from a venture capital point of view and the stock market. And unfortunately, local funds, even pension funds and SSF, they shy away from such investments. So when you look at companies like Jumia that operates in Africa and listed in the New York Stock Exchange, majority of investors were again foreigners, but consumers, locals. So it just goes back to us that we need to look at the markets and take advantage of these opportunities. So when you look at the capital markets, I believe you're all familiar with shares and how they work. So here we have about 66 shares. Then recently, the NSE introduced what we call real estate investment trusts. So real estate investment trust, we have 2 categories. It can be an investment real estate trust or a development. So currently there's no development REIT that is listed in our market, but there's one for investments known as Fahari IREIT, owned by ICA Lion Asset Management Company. So ICA Lion basically is the sister company of the former NIC Bank, which merged with CBA Bank, former new bank known as NCBA. So again, once in a while, please take time, visit the CBK website. You might have had an account with a bank and maybe it has merged with another bank. There's a lot of consolidation in the banking sector. So the former NIC and CBA Bank, now they are one bank known as NCBA. And their sister company, ICLN, the asset management company, has a rate. So this rate, what they've done is that they've bought real estate property and people pay rent. Then at the end of the year, they distribute part of the income to rate holders. So currently they have very high yield of about 8 to 10% on an annual basis. So for those who shy off from investing in real estate directly, this is an opportunity. And the NSE is working on a lot of such investments. So currently there's a company that listed, they've invested in hostels for university students. And from that, also sophisticated investors are able to invest. But for Fahari IREIT, any investor can actually invest currently because it is listed in the Nairobi Securities Exchange. And then I've talked about the 2 exchange-traded funds. You have one for gold. This might not make sense for you since you are in the US and you can actually do direct investing in terms of taking opportunities of the gold price movement, but is here for locals to also have an advantage or an opportunity to invest in gold. Then have secondary bonds trading, also quite lucrative. If you have a trading desk, this is where now banks make very good returns. So sometimes people are able to make margins of even 2% or 3% on a monthly basis. But this is not for ordinary investors. It needs a trading desk and constantly screening the market. So it's an opportunity that investment banks and big banks like KCB and Equity are taking advantage of. Because once the Central Bank of Kenya has issued bonds from the primary market, in the secondary market now you can trade bonds. So it's also something that some big investment banks and investment clubs are actually taking advantage of, because there's a lot of interest in our secondary bond market, quite active. From money market point of view, you'll see treasury bills, not bonds, just treasury bills. We have the 364-day, 182-day, and 91-day treasury bills. Currently, the 364-day treasury bills, they are going at 9.2%. So if you are a chama or an individual, you need to look at the investment time horizon is only up to 1 year for treasury bills. Then you have mutual funds. So mutual funds, I want to advise us that if you are to open any account for a mutual fund here in Kenya, just go for the money market. For the balanced fund and equity funds, for some reason, they've not done very well here in Kenya. So we have people who invested back in the year 2015, they're in diaspora. Someone put 1 million Kenya shillings, and as we speak now, it is at 850,000 Kenya shillings. So the insurance people and sales people, they'll not tell you. It is you and my business to know what you're investing in. So the capital preservation is not there. But for mutual funds, actually, they've been consistent and the returns are at around 9 to 10%. So if you look at that, look at the lost opportunity. So if you are to approach Nabo Capital, CIC, or Britam, just say, I want to invest in money market fund. And let me tell you, the investment funds, they fear knowledgeable investors. So they won't bullshit with you. But if they realize that you don't know what you are asking for, what you are looking for, you might find that if you invest in a balanced fund or an equity fund, the advisor will get 1% commission. But if it is money market, it is 0.5%. So now let me ask you, if you are the salesperson, what will you do? You'll go for the 1% for you. So 5 years down the line, I won't be friends as a salesperson, but what I'll do is that I'll have moved on to other customers. So them, they don't care about relationships. So please, let's stay guarded and just know that capital preservation is for money market funds. And for money market funds, we usually have a checklist for people. We tell them, go for these funds that are backed by large firms like Britam, CIC. So don't be attracted by a fund that was just created yesterday, and to get market share, they're giving very high and unsustainable rates. So unfortunately, we've advised as many people on this. People go on, they invest in these new funds, then for some reason, funds are stuck there, then they come back to us and ask us, do you think I'll get back my money? So usually I just go back to the chart that I shared and remind them of the checklist that I shared, which was to look at stability. Because if you look at Britam Asset Management, it is backed by Britam Insurance Company. If you look at CIC Asset Management, it is backed by CIC Asset Management. But you have some funds that have just been stagnant, and that's the only business that they're doing. So they can't compete. Because of that, they're going for high interest rates in terms of returns. And from that, from a factual point of view, which you can go and Google, people have had their money stuck in a small firm known as Amana Capital. And also people having issues with Citron. These are information that you can go and verify by yourself because they're in the public domain. And some of these companies, they fight people so that if you say that, they'll send you a demand letter saying that you're actually spoiling their brand. So that's how guarded people are here. And so that's beyond us as investors. So the best we can do is to do our job in terms of market screening and looking for great opportunities where we are likely to be successful. So please do your research and work with established funds that are regulated. Because we also have some investment firms that they just have one regulated fund, but they'll come with other 3 unregulated funds. So in the mix, you'll see their name under CMA, but these other funds are not regulated by CMA. So once the funds are stuck, now you run to the CMA. CMA will tell you, how will I help you, sir or madam? How will I help you? This fund is not in our list. Our list of funds is under CMA. Just look at Google CMA licensed players. you'll see all funds there. So that's why, as we go online to Google for anything, if you are to come back to Kenya, I'm sure there's a few Google searches that you'll do. So please, when you're investing, let's also take advantage of that. Go to CMA website, look at this company so that we are covered. Because we are putting CMA in a very tight situation. When you are interacting with these funds, it was about returns. You didn't do the due diligence.
Correct.
Now the funds are stuck. We are going back to CMA. So CMA says this is now a civil case. Now go to the courts. And if you go to the courts, I believe you'll waste more time there than you'll ever waste anywhere else.
Correct. So Robert, I do have a question already about money market. I think that's a lot of information on money markets, but someone is asking, what's the monthly rate on money markets?
Thank you very much for that. So the monthly rate, what happens, you'll find that the daily rate, they're at around 9.2%, that is an annual rate. So that interest is earned on a daily basis, but paid on a monthly basis. And the beauty of that is that interest that you earn and paid at the end of the month, it will be capitalized and that will be compounded on an annual basis. So it's a very good investment, especially for an emergency fund. And also, let's say you have a project, you want to build a house in the next 6 months, and that money is sitting in your bank account. Current accounts give you 0%, savings account 2%. So still people have, even investors and business people, they just think that their business is to make money from their business. So people have 10 million Kenya shillings sitting in a current account as businesses. Do you know that would earn you close to 70,000 Kenya shillings on a monthly basis? If you have 10 million, 70,000 Kenya shillings can pay an employee, actually 2.
Correct.
And it can pay 7 interns that can help you grow your company. So there's also a lot of lack of information. So people just like cut bank account balances, not knowing that they're missing out. And you can see inflation rate is already at 5.7%. So you're actually losing money by letting it sit in a current account. So that's how important money market accounts are. So on an annual basis is 9.2, but you divide that by 364 days, you'll get that on a daily basis, paid at the end of the month, then it is capitalized. So it's very good for emergency funds, or if you have a short-term project, stock market is not where to put your money for that, you put it in money market. And these high returns in money markets, you won't get them in any other market here in Africa. So that it has been quite vibrant. Even SACCOs, they put some of their short-term investments in money market funds. So I hope that answers you, Pete.
Correct. Yeah, I had a question that I think it's answered. Yep, that's a good answer. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so please, for the checklist, let's not forget. Also, under checklist, these companies, they have what we call trustees and custodians. So as we speak now, it is also public knowledge that a company like Cyton, they don't have a trustee. They used to have Coop Bank as their trustee, but Coop Bank resigned. So as we speak, they have not replaced that. It is over 1 year. But for some reason, even with that knowledge, some people are still putting their money there. So we usually say that people and their money is up to them. So if you look at CIC Money Market, you'll find that their custodian is Coop Bank, and then their trustee is KCB Bank. So that one is a company you can trust. So please, in the fact sheet, you'll find that this information is available in the. So that's very key for us. So please, due diligence, very, very key.
Well, Robert, you mentioned Cyton. You're touching a lot of toes here when you mentioned Cyton.
Yeah. So Cyton, for us as a Bojani, like I told you, in our Facebook group, we used to have physical meetings, and we called their CFO back in 2016, and they could not answer very basic questions back there. So that's when we just decided to forget that they exist. So that's how we live as a Bojani. Because I know if you say anything about them, you'll get a demand letter from their lawyers.
Okay.
So just stay guarded, yeah. It's very important, please. Stay guarded. And if you just do a Google search on them, in the first 10 lines, you'll have most of the answers that you'd ever look for, please. So again, let's do as much research as we can.
Correct.
Thank you. Then now the elephant in the room is the stock market. So in the stock market, I want to tell us that there's a fund that Morgan Stanley Investment Bank created, very heavy on Safaricom at 60%. And then we have EABL, KCB, and Equity. Can you believe that on an annual basis, since they created this fund, it has returned over 12%? So when they're looking at emerging markets, that's the creativity that they came up with. So you can see also we can get very good opportunities here, because that's even higher than some indices globally. If you look at getting returns of 12% per annum, just on capital gains, and you've not added dividends. You know that you have very high dividend yields here in Kenya, that even companies that are not giving very high dividend yield like Safaricom, we are still talking about 5% dividend yield as being a low dividend yield here in Kenya. That's very high in the US. But now companies like BAT, the dividend yield is very high, is as high as 10%. Standard the same, Coop Bank the same. So if you add the capital gains on the dividend, you'll be talking about 15% returns. So the stock market here, the opportunity that is here is just for us to look at all the available stocks and look at the most established companies, the well-run one, the good brands like BAT. There's a friend of mine who works there. They have 60 staff working in the market research department. Believe you me, market research is a foreign word here in Kenya. People just wake up, start a matatu business. Then things go wrong along the way. And very few people do market research. So these are established companies, they take no chances. EABL, BAT, the likes of Safaricom, KCB, Equity, Standard Chartered, ABSA, formerly known as Barclays, Cooperative Bank. If you are talking about your SACCO as, let's say, US Diaspora SACCO, Kenya, most of them, they feel at home at Coop Bank. So as long as the SACCO movement is growing, Coop Bank will always grow. And you've seen, despite the misfortunes that they had they had the bomb blast in the year 2008. So they fell into a loss-making position, but they've recovered. Now, Coop Bank is the third most profitable bank. So we have very resilient and strong companies here in the NSE with very rich history, because I can just take you back to the year 2004. These banks were nowhere. Number one was ABSA at 35% market share. So that was Barclays. Then Standard had 17% market share. So these two banks had over 50% market share. But as we talk now, they're nowhere. They're not even in top 5. So that's how resilient local banks have become. So if you look at investing in the stock market, our banks are very strong. We have Safaricom is very strong. Then again, you have strong insurance companies like Jubilee and Britain. So Jubilee Insurance, again, very rich history if you have to look at it. So when you come to the stock market, screening is very important, which we'll look at shortly. But before we look at that, let's now look at how to get started in the local stock market. So you can choose to have an account in the US, then you'll be transferring money to your CDS account here. But I'd really encourage us to open a local bank account. So we know this is something that I know the answers lie with you in terms of which banks are very friendly to you. You might like a bank, but maybe it is not friendly to people in diaspora, because here there are people who believe that their job is just to work between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. And that might be conflicting with your time zone. They are not there to help you. So which bank supports you? So the answers lie with you. So you need to open an account with that bank so that it makes it very easy for you to invest locally. Because currently we have what is known as PesaLink, which is real-time transfer of money from one bank to the other. So you can transfer up to 1 million Kenya shillings in a day. So it's very easy to transfer. You transfer money, it reflects on the same day you start investing. So that's a tool of trade that you need to look at. So as Azerbaijan usually have 3 pillars that we advise people to look at. The first is the mindset. That is, you've decided you are going to invest in the stock market. It is within your personal goals and investment objectives. Then you gain the skill set. Now we are talking about the skill set today. What is in the stock market? What is in the capital market? What is in the financial market? Then your tools of trade. So tools of trade, you need to open investments account first. Because some people sit, then when the government has issued a bond, now you need to invest within 1 week is when they are rushing to open investment account. And maybe it takes 2 weeks to open an investment account with CBK. So first is to have the tools of trade ready so that when the opportunities present themselves, you are here to invest. So last year we had a situation whereby the British American tobacco, the share price fell to an all-time low of 305 Kenya shillings. Foreigners grabbed it. It was like manna was falling from heaven. As we speak, it is at 490. So from 304 to 490 in less than 1 year. And they're giving us a GC dividend of 45 Kenya shillings on top. Can you believe if you bought it at 305? So when you have your tools of trade, when the opportunities present themselves, you take advantage. But if you don't have tools of trade, you'll be like the market analyst on CNBC. They always know everything that is happening in the market except investing for themselves. So, but we are investors, we are not storytellers. So please have your tools of trade ready so that when the opportunities are there, we take advantage of them. And usually we have a very short window for these opportunities when they present themselves. So a share basically is an ownership in a company. So when you talk about Safaricom, we want to be part of the growth by being a shareholder. So it's very important for you to get the tools ready. And now we want to know the 3 most important organizations when you want to look at the capital and money markets here in Kenya. So any company that comes to you that they're offering shares and things like that. I know there's a bit of private equity and things like that. Which company is that? There's a company that was very big in that, Fountain Group or something, FEP.
Yeah,
so usually
it was called FEP.
Yes.
You're also touching on toes here when you mentioned FEP too.
Yes, so the thing, Pete, is just take a KQ and land in the US and sell shares. We land there with a bank, come and sell you shares. So please, these are your 3 good friends. NSC website is there for you. CMA, CDSC is a safe bet to look at the opportunities that they provide. So there are 1,001 stories, and you start listening to them, you know that you are reducing your chances of success. So that company here is just a story like many other beautiful stories out there, sad and beautiful stories. So you know you should always look at these websites. So CMA, they have a list of all market participants and listed companies where you can invest. And we've seen that even with CMA or NSC, again, out of the listed 66 companies where you're likely to succeed is only 15 companies. So it means that as much as companies are there, you still need to do your due diligence. So for the companies that are not in the NSC website or CDSC and they're selling you shares, again, ask yourself, which business is that whereby I can create a company today and tell Pete that, give me 100,000 Kenya shillings. Next year, I'll give you a dividend of 25,000 Kenya shillings. But I don't have that 25,000 Kenya shillings. So I'll give you shares worth 25,000 Kenya shillings. Then now, for Pete to realize value of that 25,000 Kenya shillings, he will have to sell it to Esther. So what a great business that is, just selling your shares. You are not creating value. So you see, the story is there, but since people don't get these things and ask difficult questions, they are taking advantage. Then it just becomes an issue of court cases, people complaining. Then you say, boss, kama umechomeka, move on. And you know, we are very good in just consoling people, and that's it. So these days, there's a Sheng word that says, pambana na hali yako. So sort yourself out. We are not with you when you are making these investment decisions. So the best you can do is to guard yourself. Have good information and protect yourself. I know no investment is risk-free, but if you do due diligence, you are likely to be more successful than if you don't do due diligence. So NSC, this is our market. This is our Gikomba. This is where now we trade the shares for the rate, for the derivatives, for the shares. And it is regulated by the Capital Markets Authority, which is a regulator here, is like the SEC in the US. Then the CDSC is basically, they deal with the settlement. That's where you have your investment account. But since the CDSC can't interact with all of us, they have agents in the name of investment banks and stockbrokers. And you can also have custodial services from commercial banks. Some of them, they offer custodial services, but just know the disadvantage of that is that since that's not their core business, you'll be talking to yourself most of the times if you need help. I've heard people complaining about Kingdom Securities because that's not their core business. They're in the banking business. So you're better off working with investment banks because that is what they do on a day-to-day basis. So they'll be there and ready to serve you. So CDSC, they have the investment account or CDS account, which basically it is not a monetary account. It just stores the 1,000 shares that you have with Safaricom, another 2,000 that you might have with KCB. For you to realize value, you have to come to the NSE and sell those shares to someone. So for the illiquid shares or shares that no one wants to buy, they'll just stay there. You'll just be rich, just like you can own some real estate property somewhere, but when you start to sell it, it becomes a problem. So you need to know that the CDS account is not a monetary account. It just stores the value of the number of shares that you have. But if you have any issues, like some people usually say that, oh, I used to own some Safaricom shares, I don't know where they are, I don't know about the brokerage firm, the company to contact is CDSC, very responsive. They are very responsive on Twitter. So you can inbox them or write to them an email with your national identity. They'll be able to tell you where your shares are. So what you need to know about that account, these days, we're encouraged that once you put your money in that account, you'll transfer your money from a bank account to the brokerage firm. Then the brokerage firm will credit to your CDS account with money. So that money, please, the CDS account is not a bank account. If you put 1 million Kenya shillings there, ensure that you buy shares as soon as possible. Once you buy shares, even if the investment bank or brokerage firm goes down, you want to lose your money. They'll just transfer the shares to another company. But if money is sitting there, it will be a matter of whether it can be recovered or not. So the people might have taken advantage and used that money. So we had that issue with Ngeni Karaoke stock brokerage firm. So please put money when you are ready to invest and buy shares. So once you've seen that the settlement has taken place and you have the number of shares there, like 2,000 for Safaricom, those are your shares and you can never lose them. So very important. Then now CMA, since it is the mother of all these companies, it will deal with money market funds like CIC Asset Management Company, their money market fund, NABO, all of them, and it supervises all these players. So you can see all fund management companies, CMA. So CMA website is also a very good place to always keep on looking at. So very, very key for you to look at that. So the NSE provides the platform, but to go through the brokerage firm. So brokerage firm here in Kenya, all of them, they use the same online platform. So you'll just see like AIB Axis, maybe it is 101, another firm 102 like that. But then a few of them, they have their own mobile app that you can trade using. So the first thing is to open an investment account. So there are two things here. So far, you talked about money market funds. So money market fund, you open an investment account with Britam Asset Management or CIC Asset Management or NABO Capital. That's for money market. It is a different investment account. For shares, it is CDS account. You open it with an investment bank. We have like FIDA Investment Bank, AIB Axis, Kestrel, SBG Securities. Then if you want to invest in treasury bills and bonds, it is again a different investment account. That one you open with Central Bank of Kenya. Or sometimes you can work with commercial banks such as Equity to open an account on your behalf. So please know that if you want to invest in treasury bills and bonds, it is a different CDS account. It's called CBK CDS account. So they're different. Sometimes because the names are CDS, with people assume that once they have the account for shares, they can use that to invest in treasury bills and bonds. No, treasury bills and bonds, they sit at Central Bank of Kenya. For stocks, you open investment accounts with investment banks or stock brokerage firms. And the list for all these licensed players, you can get them on CDSC website, CMA, and again, NSE. And also some changes, because stock brokerage business is not that lucrative. So we've had some firms letting go of their stock brokerage license, like African Alliance. So if you had an account with them, know that now it has been transferred to Sterling Capital. So please always get in touch, even on a quarterly basis, get to know what is happening in the local financial market. Because one day you might wake up and find that that firm is not even existing. Though for capital markets, you won't lose the money, but maybe it would have been transferred to another company. So for the NSE, it's the largest market in East Africa and number 6 in Africa, behind Morocco, the Egypt stock market, Nigerian, South Africa, and Botswana. So Botswana used to be behind us, now they're ahead of us. So we are not investing, or most companies are not listing. So for that reason, we've become number 5 now. So this, I need to update it to we are now number 6 in Africa. So to open a CDS account, so these days you can open a CDS account online with brokerage firms like Axis. Anytime you are ready, you can always get my contacts from Pete. We'll assist you with that. And also, please know some of the changes that are happening. It's very good to know that businesses are unique. So some firms like Suntra, for some reason, people are really complaining about them. And you don't want to sit with a brokerage firm that they seem to have no direction or vision. So you'll find most people are complaining, no one is answering calls. So investors, you need not to be punished for investing, whereby you worked very hard, gotten your 100,000, then you start begging a firm to help you invest. So there's no time for that. We have so many other things that we are doing. So please ensure that you get the right companies, and also do research, do a good Google search, look at the local communities here in Kenya. You'll see the good and bad firms. So work with firms that are very responsive, so that when you invest, it can happen quickly and you can be supported. So the minimum number of shares that you can invest, unfortunately, here is 100. So here is not like the US where you have even fractional shares. So when the NSE come to the US to tell you sweet stories, please tell them that there's something known as fractional shares. Because now, for a company like Jubilee that is trading at 290, can you believe that for me to invest in Jubilee Insurance, I need at least 290,000 Kenya shillings? Sorry, 29,000 Kenya shillings. Yet with 3,000 Kenya shillings, I can invest in Amazon. So that's a very big mismatch. But currently, you can only buy at least 100 shares. So you have what is known as odd lot, which is very rare. Once in a while, you can get someone selling 11 shares once in a while, but the default is at least 100 shares, and you buy shares in multiples of 100. So if you need to buy Safaricom shares, the minimum amount of money you need is 3,600. If it is BAT that is trading at 490, believe you me, you need 49,000 Kenya shillings. Unbelievable. So that you can see one of the reasons why also our market is not vibrant. We've implicitly locked out the common mwananchi by having some restrictions that are making it very difficult for people to buy shares, because we are looking at people being able to buy shares in fractions in other markets, but currently the limit is 100 shares. So this is something you need to know when buying shares. Then in our market, on a day-to-day basis, we have a cap in terms of if Safaricom is trading at 36 Kenya shillings, the price can trade between plus 10% or minus 10%. So add 3.6 shillings here and minus 3.6 Kenya shillings here. So that's the range it can trade for in a day. Unless they have major or corporate news like they've announced their results. That's when that cap is not there. But on a normal day, the shares at the NSE, the cap is at plus or minus 10%. That's the trading range. So the GameStop, it's rare to find that happening here, where a share can gain by 300% in 1 day. No. So you'll have to wait tomorrow, today 10%, tomorrow another 10%, like that, 10 days before it does those crazy 100% gains. So those are the developments in it. Now, I know it might be boring. If you look
that's
at
very good information. That's awesome.
Yes. Yeah, unless there's corporate news, like there's an acquisition, that day it is lifted. So for that day, it can even go up by 30%. But on any other day, the cap is minus or plus 10%. Even when you're bidding for Safaricom, let's say you want to buy or you want to sell, you can't sell it at, let's say, 42 Kenya shillings if it is trading at 36. It is 36 plus 3.6. That's the math. So that will be around 39 Kenya shillings, right?
Correct.
So around the 39.9, something like that. But it can't go beyond 10% in a day. So when you're bidding on the platform, if you put more than that, you'll be told you'll get an error. Yeah, so now that we've looked at how to open an account, so the links are available once you are ready. Once you are ready, you can always be assisted. Within 3 days, you'll have an account. So this is just an overview of some of the companies that are doing well. So these are the listed banks. So believe you me, in the year 2004, the total banking sector asset was only at 400 billion for the whole banking sector, the year 2004. So can you see the growth? Now KCB alone has 987 billion, but in 2004, total banking sector assets stood at only 400 billion. So it means that we are seeing very high growth rates here in Kenya in the banking sector. And now the biggest bank in terms of asset base is Equity Bank at 1 trillion Kenya shillings in asset base because they acquired some 2 banks in DRC. So now they are the second largest bank there. Then the third largest bank in asset base is Coop Bank. We have NCBA, which was a merger between the former NIC and CBA Bank. Then you have Absa, this is formerly known as Barclays. Standard. So can you believe these two? They used to be the largest in terms of asset base. Now they are much smaller compared to local banks. So that's why foreigners are seeing opportunities in local banks like Coop. So DTB Bank, again, a local bank. So I want you to know something. DTB Bank, Nation Media, TPS Serena, and Jubilee Holdings, Jubilee Insurance, they're related companies, they're sister companies owned by the Aga Khan Development Network. So these are sister companies. Sometimes it is important for you to get that information to know that if you are to invest, not good to have exposure in all related companies. So maybe you can just invest in 2. Because it means that if something goes wrong, you are going to sink with the house. So you need to look at them, then maybe you can invest in only 2 or 1. Then you have I&M Bank. This is also a bank that is picking up quite well. So very little known, but believe you me, it is the 4th most profitable bank in Kenya. And very good in terms of returns, capital gains. Very, very good bank. So you can see the opportunities are there just hidden. It's just for us to analyze and see because if you tell someone that I&M is number 4 bank, even people in banking sector, they'll argue with you and tell you, no way, that is not possible. Because sentimentally, they believe the big banks are the Standards and Absa. So this is now where you do research and get this information that is publicly available, but people are not looking at it. So again, Stanbic Bank used to be very big, CFC Stanbic, but now they've become smaller. But again, very valuable. It is quite undervalued. So undervalued that the biggest shareholders, which is Standard Bank from the from South Africa, they actually told investors at some point in time when this bank was trading at 72 Kenya shillings, that please, we are buying your shares at 83 Kenya shillings. Can you believe that? Someone comes and tell you that they tell you that this share is trading at 72, and I can't believe how much you've undervalued it. Give me your shares, I'll pay you 83. Yes, so its valuation is over 120 now. Yeah.
All right. So Robert, there's a question about the related companies, Aga Khan Development. Can you repeat those sister companies again?
Yes, so sister companies, TPS Serena. So you know, TPS Serena is a hotel chain, right? If you've ever been into any Serena here, I think there's one in around Mount Kenya. There's another one in Uganda, Mombasa, Nairobi. So that franchise, TPS Serena, is related to Jubilee Insurance or Jubilee Holdings, the listed company, Nation Media, and GTB Bank. So very important for you to know that. So when you're investing, usually you want to have a diversified portfolio.
Correct.
So very good to have that information. And also other related companies, HF Group, which is listed, Britam owns 48% in HF. So it doesn't make sense to invest in both. We usually say that you have to choose a struggle. Yeah, so take the best out of the two. Then a company like Williamson Tea, which is in the agricultural sector, again, they own 38% in another agricultural company known as Capturia Tea. So also very important when investing, choose one of them. Because if you invest in both, it means that when things are good, they'll be very good. But if things are wrong, you'll have a very huge exposure. And Centum has 66% stake in Longhorn Publishers. So very important for us to get to know that. Jubilee Insurance has a significant stake in Diamond Trust Bank. So Diamond Trust Bank, for value investors, usually say that this is manna falling from heaven because its book value is over 180, but it likes dancing at 62 Kenya shillings. So that happens once in a while, but when people realize that, it will tend to trade towards its valuation. But it's good to know
about Home Africa? Is there any? Is it a standalone, or is there anyone that owns Home Africa?
No, it's a standalone and one of the saddest investment stories here in Kenya. So they just listed to dump the shares, then they ran away. So usually say that their two annual rituals are: one is to announce profit warning, followed by losses. The rest of the time you won't see them anywhere to update investors on anything. So the share price listed at around 9 Kenya shillings. Then it went up to 25. As we speak, it is trading at less than 1 Kenya shillings. So that was the boom of real estate, where you are telling people you could never go wrong with real estate. And I actually bought some at 6 Kenya shillings, sold at 4. So I went down with a few losses there, but it could have been worse, and it has been worse for some investors.
Right. You cut your losses. Okay, there's another question here, Robert.
Yeah.
Does Abojani invest in other markets in Africa, or just primarily in Kenya?
So currently we invest primarily in Kenya, but have AIB Axis, which is a partner, it is an investment bank. So they have some funds that I can share with you, where they invest in the best companies in Africa. And on average, the returns have been at between 12 to 15%. So that's information that I can share with you. So now you have, you already have your recovery in the US market, but now you have a recovery in South African market, whereby year to date, the index has gained by 12%. So we are having recovery in the African market, just like the European market. So I can share with you that information of the basket of investment in other markets through AIB Axis.
Okay.
So because of the struggle that you have getting Kenyans to invest in the NSC, very few investors are actually looking at Africa. But Africa, you have very good opportunities as well. So this, again, banking sector in 2008. So you can see the growth that KCB, their asset base, stood at 746 billion in 2019. And now they're at 987. Can you see that growth in just 1 year? So these are the kind of information that I want you to get to know. So in 2018, KCB, the asset base stood at 714. So see, from 714 to 746 to 987. 987 because KCB acquired National Bank of Kenya. Please get to know that as well. National Bank was rescued by their big brother, KCB. So we didn't want to be embarrassed again by another bank going down. So they're lucky to have had a good big brother who came to their rescue. But now they're under KCB Group. So the growth here has been phenomenal. So if you remove the story of COVID, these banks, like the large banks, you can see the return on equity quite high, 20%. for KCB and Equity, but because of COVID, the profitability has gone down slightly, and you'll find the ROE down. So once everything goes back to normalcy, they're likely to maintain that rate. So Safaricom, of course, this is a story that is in most investment books and case studies out there. So you can see the story speaking for itself. 2010, profit stood at 15 billion. 2011, it fell to 13 billion, then 12.6 billion. Do you know why? It's because Zen Africa was bought out by Airtel. And when they came, they reduced prices from 15 to 3 Kenya shillings. So everyone had to lower their voice calls. So that one hit Safaricom in the short term. But Safaricom reinvented themselves and returned back to growth in profitability. That's why we always say that Safaricom is a very resilient company. So you can see from 17 to 23 billion in profitability, 31 billion, 38, 48 billion, 55 billion, 62 billion, 73 billion in the year ended 31st March. And M-Pesa is growing. M-Pesa now, in terms of revenue, M-Pesa revenue stands at 84 billion. This is a product that was invented or established only in the year 2007. But now, M-Pesa revenue is higher than that of Coop Bank. So it is number 3 if you look at financial services sector. In terms of total, KCB revenue and equity are higher than M-Pesa, but M-Pesa is number 3. So that's how significant it is in our market. So total revenue, you can again see for Safaricom, the growth rate speaks for itself. So the growth rate has slowed a little bit. That's why we also tell our locals that for every Safaricom, there are other Safaricoms in the NASDAQ and New York stock market. So also look at offshore so that you see growth opportunities maybe in Latin America, Southeast Asia, and the US. So any questions that you might have before we proceed? You want to answer as many of them as possible?
There was a question, Robert, about why buy and hold is the most popular investment style for you guys, because most people just buy and hold.
Yes, for us mostly is buy and hold and continuously research. It's because our clientele and target market is professionals and entrepreneurs. So this is what works best for them. Most of them, if you tell them about trading, they'll just give up and they'll never talk to you again. They don't have that time. So usually we do research and look at this company. If facts change, like for Nation Media, I want to make a very good point on Nation Media. They didn't do very well in terms of digitizing their business. So because of that, and very few people are now buying the print media. Their revenue have been going down on an annual basis from the year 2004. Every year down, down, down. But since most investors have emotions, they'll say that if this brand is owned by the Aga Khan, how can it go down? But it will go down with their money because it used to trade at 300 Kenya shillings back in 2013, 2014. Now it is trading at 16 Kenya shillings. But the signal has been there. Revenue has been going down consistently and even profitability. So buy and hold is there, but we look at the fundamentals. We keep on screening the market. But that's what can work best for most people. If you look at Safaricom, for people who have held it, it has done very well. KCB, again, equity, even in terms of dividends, companies like British American and EBL. And the NSE doesn't really allow for trading. So Pete, how will you trade when, if you buy shares, the commission is between 1.8 to 2.1%?
Correct. Correct.
Then
and
again,
then there's
settlement is 3 days.
10%. If you only allowed for the stock to move just 10%.
Yes, yes.
That's a problem.
Yeah, and settlement, it takes 3 days if you buy to settle and to sell another 3 days. So 6 days. Where on earth? For a trader, that's only derivatives. And again, derivatives, they're not very liquid. You can look for a lot for a whole month. So you can see why we have only to go. Maybe you can do momentum trading, look for earnings. So maybe buy in December. As companies announce their earnings in March, you sell. So you can make 15-20% gains. So that one you can do.
Okay. Actually, there was a question about derivatives. Someone was asking about derivatives. That product in Kenya, how is it? Is Is it something that someone can explore?
Yeah, it's very good to exploit because now the NSE is working with more brokerage firms to promote it. So it's something to start studying and look at, because currently we have only 5 companies, so 5 instruments. So you have Safaricom, KCB, Equity, British American Tobacco, and EABL. But in terms of liquidity, it is very illiquid. You can look for an opportunity and miss out even for a whole week.
Oh, okay. All right. There's another question too, Robert, about a list of good investment banks and brokers.
Yeah, so I think I'll share that on the channel.
Okay.
It'll be easier to do that there.
Yep. Okay, that's fine.
So these are just some of the like groupings that you might want to have looking at the growth company. So you've seen from the information from their financials that these companies are really growing, whether it is from their balance sheet or profitability, right? Then dividend counters stands at, as we speak, recently they were trading at 132 Kenya shillings, but they're giving a dividend of 10.5 Kenya shillings. Ordinarily, they give a dividend of 20 Kenya shillings, but because of COVID, they've cut the dividend to 10. But ordinarily, their dividend yield is quite high, because even last year when they're trading at 135 or 145, they gave a dividend of 19 Kenya shillings. So you can see that's over 10%. So APSA also, they give a dividend of around 1 Kenya shillings, and the share price is currently trading at 10 Kenya shillings. Coop Bank, the same. Then Captoria Tea and Williamson Tea. Williamson Tea has really rewarded me with very good dividends. So usually they give a dividend of 20 Kenya shillings, but it tends to trade at 132 to 150 Kenya shillings. So you can see that's over 10%. So when they announce the dividend is when everyone rushes to buy now. So typical investor behavior. But you can see now, once you know some of these opportunities, you can position yourself. Then real estate sector, the biggest mortgage lender currently is KCB. So this is HF Group. HF Group, I would say that they're not doing very well. So they used to trade at 52 Kenya shillings. Now they're trading at around 3 or 4 Kenya shillings. So that again, their exposure in real estate sector has not helped them because it has been saturated now. So Bamburi again used to do very well, but slowdown in the real estate sector and strong competition has affected them. Then ARM, again, a very sad story, ARM Cement, if you know Rhino Cement brand. So this one has gone down with investments from some UK company known as CDC. They invested 14 billion Kenya shillings in 2016 when this company was trading at 40 Kenya shillings. As we speak, it has been suspended from trading because they are not able to pay their bank loan, and it was suspended when it was trading at about 4 Kenya shillings. So you can see from 40 to 4 Kenya shillings, if you invested 14 billion, you've lost almost everything. So that's an investment firm from the UK. So we have new cement companies like Savannah, Mombasa. They're really giving these companies run for their money. So for that reason, Bamburi, the share price has fallen from highs of 160 to as low as 20. Now it is back to 40. But that is, you just see the signals from the real estate sector that we are seeing a slowdown or oversupply in some segments. Then value stocks, these are very valuable. Centum, DTB, and NCBA, they are quite undervalued stocks for long-term investors.
All right. So there's a question to Robert about good companies due to COVID. Is there some companies that are so undervalued that now you should actually consider investing in them?
Yeah, you could look at EABL. So you know what happened with EABL and BAT? The prices fell, but EABL, they still have an issue because, as you know, we still have lockdowns, which it is really affecting EABL because now there's no going to the restaurants. You're only supposed to go and do takeaways. But for smoking, smokers can always smoke anywhere. For that reason, BAT recovered faster than EABL. So EABL is still subdued. And commercial banks as well, they're still trading quite low. Because at the beginning of 2020, KCB and Equity, they opened the year at around 52 Kenya shillings. Because of COVID, they went down to 27. So even now, they're on a slow recovery. They're trading at around 36, 37.
Wow, that's a good point, that smokers can now smoke anywhere. BAT is not affected, but drinkers.
EABL, yeah. EABL still locked down. And this time the president gave out a notice that it is until further notice. So there's no direction in regards to that. So for that reason, that has affected EABL.
Would you mind to mention anything about KQ?
Oh my, so KQ again, don't be soothed by the sweet patriotic anthem when you land in Kenya. So again, a very sad story. So KQ and KPLC, these are very funny companies. They are growing in terms of their revenue, hitting over 100 billion Kenya shillings. But KQ, they are making losses of tens of billions. Like, let's say 25 billion is the highest loss they ever made before COVID. But because of COVID now, the losses have hit over 36 billion. I can't even process that from a Kenyan point of view. 36 billion in losses. So that is KQ and KPLC. We usually say that we think, in our opinion, that people who are taking their profits from the profit and loss statements through the costs and expenses, because there's no way KPLC is a monopoly. They make revenues of 100 billion, then profit is 300 million. How is that possible? So those are, you just assume that they don't exist and look at other companies.
Wow.
So KQ used to trade at 140 Kenya shillings, right? As you speak, it is around 2 Kenya shillings. And delisted, so it has been suspended from trading. Yeah. So KPLC and Safaricom, they've been the reverse of each other. In the year 2012, Safaricom used to trade at 3 Kenya shillings. Now it is trading at 36. But KPLC in the year 2012, it used to trade at 36. And now it is trading at 2 Kenya shillings. So they're the opposite of each other. Safaricom has gone up. Then KPLC, we said they've been digging for oil, trying to find it down there. So it's a very sad story.
Oh.
So rule breakers, again, these are very strong companies that are very resilient, like Kakuzi. You know, in Kenya, the agriculture here is rain-fed, like 98% of agricultural activities are rain-fed. Because of that, most agricultural companies are affected when there's drought and they announce losses. So please know that agricultural companies in Kenya, the listed ones, they're cyclic. So if they make a loss, don't panic. It's because most of the time there is drought. But Kakuzi, that doesn't affect them. They've been profitable 3 years in a row because they're well diversified. They have avocado, timber, coffee, tea, while others just rely on coffee and tea. So because of that, Kakuzi has done very well. And we have an activist investor, the one and only John Kibunja, who started buying it heavily till he got a seat in the board. So it also has quite an exciting story. So he bought till he found himself owning. So he's trying to fight those foreigners there. Yeah. But they've also been giving a good dividend, increasing on an annual basis. Even this year, they increased their dividends to 18% from 14% last year. So these are the few companies that are enjoying life even during the height of COVID. So equity, again, equity 50%, diaspora remittances pass through Equity Bank. And you know you have 38%, sorry, you have 38 banks. In terms of POS or point of sale machines, Equity has 50% market share. So they're just running the banking sector. Like in terms of presence or retail banking, they are very big. So they are a very strong brand right there.
So Robert, let me ask you, because given the information so far, a lot of people are finding companies that they thought were doing well are not. Are you allowed to sell short any of these companies?
Too bad, only for the 5 counters with derivatives, which again are very liquid. So the NSE is protecting the likes of KQ and KPLC, because if shorting was there, it could have been raining money. And it would actually help with strong corporate governance.
Correct.
So unfortunately, shorting is not there except for the 5 derivative companies, EABL, BAT, Safaricom, Equity. KCB, and still very liquid. And we have one ETF that you can short, that's the NSE 25 share index.
Okay.
But it's very unlikely to get an opportunity. They are there, but in one day, maybe 2 lots, but you have millions of investors, so everyone else will miss out.
Yeah.
So again, there are some banks that have been reinventing themselves. So KCB, believe you me, they've done quite well in terms of going digital, as much as the old government bank. Sorry, just a minute. So if you look at the journey of KCB, the kind of transformation that they're having is that they're doing digital as well as still strengthening their traditional banking line. So when you talk about those mobile loans, KCB now, they have a mobile loan product known as KCB M-Pesa. And last year, in terms of mobile loans, they lent 220 billion. So if you hear people complaining about consumer debt, those are the things we are talking about, but they've reinvented themselves and really doing well on the digital front. So you can see they've been launching a lot of products. They've launched also a window for Islamic banking, known as KCB Sahal. They've recently partnered with Huawei to build a very robust platform, which has seen them do a lot of transactions online. So KCB is really doing well in terms of reinventing themselves, because we usually see that government-related companies might not do well. Then when you talk about Fuliza loans, they're being underwritten by KCB and NCBA. So the market share, Safaricom gets 40% of the total income, NCBA 40%, KCB 20%. And also, government formed the Kenya Mortgage Refinancing Company. KCB has 25% stake there. So they plan to give people mortgages at 10% annum to allow as many people as possible to buy houses. So these are just some of them. And then they're also doing a lot of strategic investments and growth. That's where they've been doing well from a capital gains point of view. So KCB, they've been very big on partnerships. So it's very good as well to know what some of these companies are doing. So this, the late Bob Collymore, you can see the kind of partnerships and opportunities that he created for Safaricom. Now Safaricom is very big in terms of receiving Kenyans being able to send money locally and send money globally. So a lot of things happening from this company. So that's why we say they're resilient, because they keep on reinventing themselves. So very, very key to follow that. So as we speak, recently, I&M Bank was trading at 42 Kenya shillings, but they announced very good results despite COVID, and they're still number 4. So because of that, the share price has gone up within just 1 week, I think from 42 to now around 50, 52. So it's also a very solid bank. And Coop Bank, they started a strategy known as Soaring Eagle, whereby they are really revolutionizing how they do their business. So because of that, they had a dip in profitability in 2014, but since that time, they've been seeing growth year after year. So that's where we talk about resilience. Then Scan Group, again, are not a very good story. So these ones you need to avoid. Their CEO was suspended and he had to resign because there's an issue of conflict of interest. We really don't know what happened, but has not been doing well. Dominant players who have not done well in the recent past, Nation Media, Bamburi. So we talked about competition for Bamburi, Nation Media. People don't want to buy their newspapers anymore. And very few people are also subscribing to their paywall or digital newspapers. Then crap stocks, the likes of KQ. These are shares whereby both the shareholders and management, to be honest, they have no idea what is going to happen or what is going on there. So if you ask Mumia's company management, from Africa, Deacons, they'll not tell you anything about that company. They'll just say, we are hoping that the government will bail us out. So that's what all they say. So these ones you just need to avoid. Yeah, so anyway, so I think we are quite conversant with things like dividends, right?
Correct.
So here, usually what is important is about the book closure dates. I'll share the schedule for the upcoming book closure dates, like British American Tobacco. The book closure date for dividends is on 16th of this month. And there are also other upcoming book closure dates. For Coop Bank, it was on 31st of March. I think that is gone. So Kavi is saying, are crap stocks penny stocks? No. Crap stocks, basically, you can have a penny stock that is a solid company. So crap stock is just a company with no direction. The investment thesis is the government cannot let Mumia sugar go down, while the share price has gone down from 50 to 1 Kenya shillings. And some people are refusing to sell because they believe that the government cannot let it go down. Now, KCB took Mumias down by putting it under receivership because they had huge debts with KCB. So you see now for over 2 years, it has been suspended from trading. So these are companies with no directions. In the market here in Kenya, they tend to trade at very low prices as well. So there are penny stock and crap, but not all penny stocks are crap stocks. So some people are saying that Keki could never go down below 8 Kenya shillings. As we speak, it is below 3 Kenya shillings. So you can see that as long as the business is not doing well, the chances of making money in a company, it becomes very difficult to make money in such a company because the losses are just growing. Actually, if you look at total losses for KQ, it hit 46 billion, not just 36 billion. There are some other losses down there on the comprehensive income statement. So again, since you are stock market investors, you are very comfortable with this. The risk matrix that is there, how you make money. So for the NSE market, mostly it has been long-term or momentum trading. If you can do like the dividend rally, on a normal year, usually if you buy at the end of December, by March, April, you'd have made 15, 20% gain in some of these great companies as investors chase dividends. So for that, you could do momentum, but long-term has worked quite well. So income stocks, you can see the ones that give close to 10% dividend yield, then growth stocks, they're there. So also the ownership stakes, you need to know like ABSA, Standard Chartered Bank, Stanbic, you should know that foreigners own more than 76% of them. So it's also important to know the ownership structures of companies. You can see if it is something that you like or makes sense for you. Then the government owns around 17% in KCB. They own also another 17% in Centum, though very few people know that. And they own about 35% in Safaricom. So for companies where the government owns more than 55%, for some reason, they've not done very well. So that's a fact. So the likes of Mumias, Uchumi, KPLC, KQ. So it has been a very similar story. So it's good to also know that so that when you're investing, you try to avoid companies where government has a significant stake. Because sometimes the CEOs, they're just changed with the changes in political regime. So that's the downside. But for companies like KCB, Safaricom, and Centum, since the government owns a stake that is less than 50%, they can't make those controlling decisions. So a few companies have preferred stocks, like National Bank had them. Then KPLC have 2 of them, but usually most investors do not get these opportunities because they are for sophisticated or professional investors. So again, I hope you are familiar with this. So I'll share the list of stock brokerage firms and investment banks so that when you are ready and it aligns to your personal goals and it's something that you are looking at, then you can engage. So the indices that you have here, you have the NSE All Share Index, known as NASI. Then you have NSE 20 Share Index, and also NSE 25 Share Index. I can also share the names of the companies in the 2 indices, but the NSE All Share Index, it contains all listed securities at the NSE.
Robert, can you be able to buy the entire index?
Currently, only for the derivative. the NSE 25 share index. So you can only go long or short.
Okay.
Yeah. So Centum, yes, Centum is a good buy for the long run. So for KQ again, KQ, the government wants to push out all retail shareholders and delist KQ. So that is the plan. They've been trying to push it to parliament. Sometimes parliamentarians get hostile. The government has been playing cat and mouse game with the parliamentarians, but I think they'll get their way. So KQ, that's the only way out, because currently their equity position is negative 64 billion. So it is negative 64 billion poorer. So there's nothing in KQ in terms of value, maybe the sentimental value. So even if you are to help KQ, you'll have to sink 64 billion first to bring it to zero. Yeah.
All right. When you get a chance, there's a question about Ibuka and its advantages.
Ibuka, again, to be honest, it has been quite a big joke, because we have companies there, and the first one to be listed was Homeboys, which was a very big joke. They are not ready to list, so it is not trading for a whole year, and it's like a family-owned business with very few shareholders. The family members are the senior management and board members, and taking home close to 10% of annual revenue in terms of salaries and allowances. So I think that the NSE didn't do quite well. They didn't look for the right companies. But also, I can't blame the NSE, because the market is a product of how people do business. So you can see companies that wanted to list, like Tuskys, they're going down before listing. Then another company that went down before listing is Nakumat. So Nakumat, it went down with funds for the likes of Amana Capital. So you can see how it affected money market for those who are investing in risky commercial papers. But I can't really blame the NSE. You can't get good companies where they're not really great companies. So maybe the likes of Family Bank, they can list. Keroche was planning to list, but they're having a lot of problems with the government. So really, if you are the NSE CEOs, what could you do now? The like of FAP, which wanted to list problems. Cyton wanted to list problems. So again, it is just corporate governance issues. That's why I say that the NSE really, your job is very simple as an investor, because there are really very few good companies to look at. So it becomes very easy to screen. So you should know that the history of Ibuka, it became because James didn't do well. So James was the market segment where the likes of Home Africa were listed, Flame Tree Group, all of them, they didn't do well in that category. Nairobi Business Ventures, it was a shoe selling company that was making revenues of about 4 million Kenya shillings on an annual basis. Then just started loss making. Now it has been bought out by a foreign company, trying now to do other things not related with what it was doing. TransCentury again, please. TransCentury again, just know that what happened, their good friend became a president. So when their good friend stopped being a president, they stopped making good revenue. So it's again a sad story. Listed at 50 Kenya shillings, now trading at less than 5 Kenya shillings, and making billions in losses, 2 billion, 1 billion. So Win is talking about infrastructure bonds. Yeah, so infrastructure bonds that are tax-free, and I recommend these ones. So the last one was just issued in March, and it has already been closed. So be on the lookout. I know by June we'll have another one. So these are very good bonds because it is tax-free, and the rates, as you speak, are at between the lowest that has ever been has been 10.8%, but we've seen 12.6%. So be on the lookout. In case of any issue on it, I'll be sharing. So if the government issues an infrastructure bond, I'll be sharing on the channel now. So be on the lookout because it is a very, very good opportunity. So the only risk with bonds is that you need to be reinvesting your capital because that capital is not protected from inflation. So the only way to protect it from inflation is to protect the interest that you earn every 6 months by reinvesting it. So you can also get the infrastructure bond on the secondary market. So I think what I'll do, we can agree on a session where we can do it in a time that is friendly to Kenya.
Mhm.
Usually on Saturday, 6 p.m. Kenyan time. I don't know what time it can be there, so that I can get someone who does secondary market trading, and they'll take us through, because they're on the trading desk. And once people are ready to do secondary market buying of these bonds, you can take advantage. So sometimes you find the yield will be as high as 12%. So you can take advantage of that and buy it from the secondary.
Correct.
So if you are ready,
Yeah, and we can make
do
time.
that.
6
Yes.
p.m. might be very early, but that's fine. Somebody looking to diversify or find opportunity, doesn't matter what time they wake up. So we'll make it.
Yes. Yeah. So at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. Kenyan time, I can get a resource from the investment banks. I know most of them might not be comfortable with waking up at 3 a.m.
Right.
Yeah, but we can find a time that can work for both of us. Then I can bring them on board.
Mm-hmm.
So any further questions?
All right. So all right. So Robert, you're through with your slide. Is there something else that? And then we can open up for any other questions. I know we have covered a lot.
Yeah, we've covered a lot, and I'm going to share a lot on the channel, because I wanted to do introductions so that at least people know
Correct.
where we are coming from.
Correct.
Then we can just keep looking at the channel.
Correct. All right. All right. So we can open up for anybody that has a question. If you want to ask it, just unmute yourself. If you are in a place where you cannot do it verbally, just post it on the chat. And then we can be able to answer some of those questions. I know we are past wait time, we're almost 2 hours, but that's fine too. So go ahead. If you want to ask a question, you can unmute yourself and ask the question. All right. So Robert, there's a question about REITs and the best ones to invest, real estate trusts.
So we have only one currently, Safari IREIT. So they bought some properties, like there's a mall in Eastlands known as Greenspan Mall. So that's the only one that we currently have in our market. But there are plans to list more. So currently it is the only one that you can invest in at the NSE. And the yields are at between 8 to 10% on an annual basis.
Correct.
And it is also quite undervalued. Its net asset value or book value is at 20 Kenya shillings, but currently it has fallen to 6 Kenya shillings.
All right. There's a question here, and I think this is a wonderful question because it's asking about Pete and Abujani, how we partner. I can answer these one. So Robert will be actually is in charge of NSC channel at Discord, where he updates everyone in our community on what's happening there. But if you're a member of Pete and Pete Investors, what he's going to be doing for us is every month is do a presentation once a month, go over anything that is happening there. If you have investments that you currently have or looking to put money to work, he will at least guide you. Now you can see from this presentation how much information you need to gather. And if you don't know what you're investing in Kenya, you're here, you'd rather have Robert come over once a month and give you some information that is lacking. So if you're a member of our community, you are covered. All you have to do is look out on Wix app when the next event is, RSVP to it, and attend it. And our membership tier levels are very basic. It's $9, $10 a month, or you can pay $99 for the year, or $199 if you want to be a gold member. So it's really like a steal where you get Robert coming out every month and providing information that you can use to triple X your money. So that's how we partner. And Robert is very accessible. Now, if you have someone in Kenya and you want them to at least understand how finances work, how money works in Kenya, he runs classes. He has a community just like we do. And if you sign up for his class, Robert, you can tell us how many sessions you do. And I know the last time I checked, it was about 3,000. I can't remember the amount, but go ahead and mention a little bit about Abujani.
Yeah, thank you. So the monthly master class is 3,000 Kenya shillings. and it runs for 3 weeks. So you have 12 sessions, whereby 8 of them they are run on WhatsApp, then 4 of them are run on Zoom. And we also do have recordings for all the sessions available. So we talk about personal finance, because in Kenya you have to start with personal finance. Our education curriculum didn't tell us anything about money. So you never assume. In fact, the people usually come when they're very confident. They'll say, I don't want to be taught about budgeting and how to set personal goals. They invest in the stock market today, buy EABL at 160. Once it falls to 142, they start asking you what will happen. So you say it's because you didn't build the right mindset. So because of that, we usually just assume that everyone has to again relook at personal finance, irrespective of how much they know, so that we are starting from the same place. Then you proceed to money market, very key, especially given that most people usually start with building the emergency funds. Then after that, you look at the stock market, then treasury bills and bonds and circles as well. So that was very key here in Kenya because most people are looking at it, and there are a lot of changes in that space as well. Then sources of information, because as you can see, if you don't know the right sources of information, you want to be updated when the likes of Mumias, Keki are having all these issues, whereby sometimes it's just good to cut your losses and move on, rather than assuming that all is good yet. A lot of things have happened.
Hey, I think I have a question. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so I specialize in derivatives. So I work with the derivatives all day long. I talk about options on equity, options on futures, swaps, options on interest rates. And I've always looked forward to an opportunity where I could be able to do some derivatives business in Africa. And listening to your presentation, I get the impression that there's no future for derivatives. So, I mean, what is your take on that?
Yeah, it's just getting started, but South African market is quite good in terms of derivatives. So Kenyan market was the second, but you know what is happening? The NSE, they don't have liquidity providers. So as an expert in that field, without that really, there's nothing that can happen. Because like in the US market, if I log into eToro or Interactive Brokers, if I want to short or go long, there's no liquidity problem, right? I even don't know if such a problem exists. But here in Kenya, you go and see only 2 lots are available. So what can you? It means that they need to find a liquidity provider that can help with that, to cover those positions. So that's the challenge. Correct. And you can see they're too risk averse for to have an efficient market as well, because they're protecting also bad companies from being short.
Correct. And Robert, to that end, actually, I reached out to Waithera Mwai. She's in charge of derivatives market, and she hasn't responded to me. I've been trying to get hold of her, do a Zoom meeting, because I have a lot of questions about derivatives, but they are not responding, and that doesn't sit very well with someone looking for information. And I was just looking for basic information. What are you trading? Can I sell short on KCB and buy it back? So, but I'll keep trying. And David, I'll keep trying. If I do get information and she's available to actually come on this forum to our members and say what they do, we'll definitely have her here, because that would be awesome.
Yeah, actually, we're working on a partnership with NSC as Abojani. But unfortunately, NSC, they charge for their training. So,
correct.
So I'm missing the SEC and the NASDAQ charging for their training. Unfortunately, here they charge. So they've told us to organize classes that we can do in partnership. So we're working on that, but they are very open for that. But I have very good presentations, PowerPoints on derivatives that I can forward with you. We share with the community members. So I attended their training back in 2017, and they shared that information.
Okay, yeah, I would like to compare that with what we do here in the futures market.
Yeah,
that'll be awesome. All right, I know I want to mention something about
Robert. This is John. I just have a question on the money market. If I have to open a money market account, I think you mentioned CIC and Britam. So would it mean that I have to go directly to them and open a money market account, or what? How does that go?
We'll assist you. So once you are ready, you can reach out to me. Just like Peter said, you'll always find problems when you're interacting with local brands. For some reason, they are just not that responsive. So actually, if they are responsive, maybe Abojani would not exist. So we just cover that that gap. So when our community members, they have issues, rough, curvy, we try to help them because we have these people's numbers and they'll tend to respond faster to us. It's just unfortunate. So if you want to open an account, we can help you to do that faster.
Correct.
Thank
So
you.
sometimes they tend to have this mentality that they can only work from Monday to Friday from 8 to 5 p.m. So if you send someone on WhatsApp chat at 9 p.m. Kenyan time, they'll just say that this person is someone I should never talk to. And they'll never respond to any of your chats. They'll say, how comes you are chatting them outside work hours?
Mm-hmm.
Not knowing that people are supposed to work when there is work.
Correct.
That's
Thank
why
you.
the world works. Yeah.
Hi, Mr. Ron, I should also mention that I'm working with NCBA. Very soon we'll have finalized the agreement where now you don't have to worry about these guys. All I have to do is get in touch with us. If you have a brokerage issue or you want to switch, like Robert mentioned, some brokerage firms are not very good. We need to at least have a brokerage firm that is responsive to you. So I should we should have a fairly quick answer from NCBA on how to do this. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so for CIC or Britam, we'll be able to assist you.
Cool. Very cool.
Cool. Thank you.
You're most welcome.
All right. Any other questions for Robert?
What about with CDSC? If somebody has an issue with them, can Abojani assist?
Yeah, so CDSC, usually you can contact them directly because they don't like people acting on behalf of clients. But if you are really stuck, you can get in touch with me. I can get a contact and now escalate. So, because I know there are so many people who bought Safaricom shares during IPO and they have no idea where the shares are. So many. We receive quite a lot of.
All right. Thank you very much.
Hi, Peter.
Hi.
I have a question. So, Robert, I have a question for you, and I also want. This is Esther. I want to thank you so much for your presentation. It's very educational and eye-opening. And I have a question about investors who would like to invest, like some investors that don't have a lot of money to invest lump sum, and they want to invest regularly, like, small amounts every month. Like here, what we do is that people can contribute even $100 a month, and they buy units of funds, like diversified funds or portfolios or mutual funds. Do we have something like that in Kenya for small investors?
Yeah, so currently what we have funds, like there's one that AIB Axis has. I can share the details where they have such a fund, but usually they start with 100,000 Kenya shillings. Then the denominations are quite high again in terms of amount of money that people can put. But for money markets, it can work well because now they've pulled funds. So when you're buying CIC money market of Britain, that's what they'll do. They'll go and invest in government securities, commercial papers, other things like the stock market. Then since you are a unit holder, now you'll just be getting returns on a monthly basis. And you can put as little as 1,000 Kenya shillings. So a unit is 1,000 Kenya shillings. So for that, you have money market, but you don't have very sophisticated funds here in Kenya. So the most sophisticated funds we have are the mutual funds from the likes of CIC and Britam and Nabo Capital, that people can invest with at as little as 1,000 Kenya shillings. Then once in a while, the government issues an infrastructure bond known as a Makiba, where people can invest with as little as 3,000 Kenya shillings. But currently, there's no issue that is going on. The last one matured last year.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome, Esther.
All right. Okay. All right. So we'll wrap it up. The one thing I need to mention is that if you're not a member of our community and you'd like to have access to Robert and what we do with stock trade ideas, option ideas, taking classes, actually the next class for stocks is next week. If you ever wanted to trade stocks, understand how money market works, get in touch with us. There's I'm going to ask Timothy to post our website where you can establish a membership. The lowest is just $9, and if you are looking to take classes, go ahead and register. We are still open for a few more slots for next week. We have stocks, we have options, we have futures classes. So you're all covered. This is an important area for you to get educated. Don't just assume that you buy something and let it go. Get yourself education, understand how these markets work, and build a portfolio. Let money work for you. So I'm very grateful that Robert is able to do this for us, partner with us. If you do have a question, even after this session, go ahead and reach out to us. Our phone numbers, our team is also going to probably post our phone numbers. And the easiest way too is go to the website and register an account. I'll see you that you have joined. I'll get in touch with you. So with that said, Robert, I know it's very early in the morning. I want to thank you so much for doing this and for what you do for our community. And I really appreciate that you care for the little guy. It just tells that you care for that little guy and you want him to succeed. So
yes, we do. And actually, Pete, we should also have you come and talk to Kenyan investors, because now we've established a partnership with Scope Market.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
and I don't want to be the only person talking there. So I think if we can get more people, I saw that you had a presentation somewhere with Esther.
Yes, with Esther. Yes. Yes. So
same Esther.
Yes.
Come on now, you guys need to come back home. We talk also to local investors, because the fight that I've been having in Scope Market, like for the last 2 years, telling them that you can't be teaching us about foreign markets and bringing wazungus. We'll think it's a foreign thing. But if I talk about foreign markets and I'm investing, people can relate. They can see that even a Kenyan can invest. So since you are Kenyans, it will be much easy to connect.
Oh yeah.
I'll get in touch with you so that, because we are going to have with them 3 sessions every month.
Correct. And actually, Robert, after you took our classes, we have had a student from Nairobi every class after that. So
yes, usually we are public noisemakers.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in Nairobi that want to trade Facebook, Amazon.
Yes.
See, if they are already doing that, that tells you that capital efficiency is getting somewhere and the world is opening up. You can trade at any time as long as you know how to do it. So this is a wonderful opportunity for people that can open their minds and tap into this. Awesome. It's a wonderful opportunity to build wealth.
Yeah, it is, because actually, Pete, as we talk, sorry, Pete, as we talk, the Kenyan shillings is really depreciating against the USD.
What is it now? 107?
107, 110 from 101 at the beginning of 2020. So imagine if you had dollar investment, you'd be a rich man in Kenya.
Correct. And actually, that means we have a purchasing power at 110.
Yes.
That means we can actually buy all those shares you're talking about at BAT. And those are good companies that, you can always look for interest and dividends.
Yeah, so that's what we are trying to tell them, that as much as they are complaining about the government, there's something they can do for themselves for the time being. Invest in the Facebook, FedEx. We have FedEx offices here in Nairobi at International Life House, just near KCB Kencom. So they deliver stuff here in Kenya. So you say you are a consumer, why not invest too? So I think it's very good to have this exchange program, to have as many people back in the US also invest locally, and locals to also take advantage of these opportunities. Because I tell people that the idea now is to live in your generation and not country. My background is in IT, and I've seen people we went to school with that they work for Amazon, and what they're earning there is more than what most CEOs earn here in Kenya. So why not take advantage of global opportunities? There's no price tag for being patriotic and poor. You can be patriotic and also get some good income from global markets. So let's work together. Like usually, I write letters to CMA. I think sometimes I share in my community. So we just keep on talking to them. Then one day, who knows, it might work.
Right.
Because again, that's how it works in Kenya. The government has to be pushed. The regulators, they have to be pushed. So that's what we are doing. We just ensure that you don't talk badly about them, but just tell them this is an opportunity to help people. Keep on having meetings. So like the partnership we are going to have with NSC, you've been talking about it since 2015. So can you believe that?
Wow.
So when we had the big diaspora conference, Dr. Lucy Mackenzie, they attended and they wondered, how comes you people are able to have this number of viewers?
Right.
And for our sessions, people don't attend.
Right.
The same thing happened yesterday where 187 people attended. So the NSC said, how are you able to bring investors together like this? So we need to work together. So you also have to find a way to get to them and keep pushing. Then fortunately or hopefully things will work.
Right.
And I'm going to chime in a little bit here as Ralph. This man you people are seeing here, even those industry titans in Kenya, whether it's Makome, whether it's Oigara, whether it's Mwangi, they all listen to him because of what he speaks and says. So if you could just partner with him and actually go and improve on that missing link of the derivatives out there, that's an open market for everybody.
Mhm.
It can be done. So let's
Sure.
get to it and let's get it going.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you so much. We are going to end the recording here now, and we'll hang around just another couple of minutes, just in case somebody is looking for specific information. But it's awesome to have all of you attend. I hope that you took some notes. It was able to add a little bit to your learning experience and your value. And that's all we are looking for, opportunities that we can build wealth for the next generation. Let's leave something for our kids and our kids' kids. That's the whole point of doing this. Getting out of debt, being financially independent, that's the goal. If you can be able to do that through any of these forums or information we share, we'll have achieved our goal. But our contacts are there. You can always get in touch with us. You're looking for anything about capital markets, let us know. Don't get lost. We are here to help. But we appreciate you. Thank you so much. So I'll stop the recording and we'll hang around. Timothy will be here. Tichayam is here. Esther is here. Robert is here. So thank you so much.
So thank you all, and it's really inspiring to see all of you here. So at one point I said there were over 50 people. So that's what we want. Let's also have conversations that can build us, because there's no prize for just complaining and complaining. Let's be the first generation to build capital for our startups, so that not everyone just thinks about going to school and looking for a job. Because if you have capital, at least you're able to take much risk in terms of starting a business, and we'll have more businesses even listing in the NSC. Currently, the scenario is that everyone is always looking for a jackpot. Very good ICT companies coming up, even having as much as $5 million in revenue. They get one government tender, they stop doing their business. So you can see we are not building sustainable businesses. So I just pray that we'll be the generation that can try to do that.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.